Wait, hustle helped can named Kuchkich. Welcome. Happy we've arrived here at the Methow Valley Interpretive Center in Twisp, Washington. And here we are for episode 4, season 2, Notes from the Center. We're here today looking at the entrance to a traditional Plateau Pit House. And I'm going to read a little bit from a book that was recently published called Stim An S Kwist, What is Your Name? By Arnie Marchand. There are many different ways to build pit houses, but I think Arnie's description will give you a little sense of it, and we'll go inside as well. These are Arnie's words. We lived in pit houses in BC and lived in them for thousands of years. They were set into the ground, and some were very deep and some 3 or 4 feet deep. They had 4 poles that carried the angular poles from the sides of the pit and were mortised to ensure that no fasteners were needed to carry the load. The roof was 5 or 6 layers of cedar bark, earth, grass, and tules. They were from 12 or 15 feet in diameter to much larger. The entrance was facing west, and a ground entrance was included for the elderly. The entrance was an opening in the center of the top with a notched pole sunk in a foot into the ground and mitered at the top, extending a few feet out of the top. There was a fire at the base, and generally 1 fire per dwelling, and in the fall and winter the house was so warm blankets were seldom used. The opening had a cover to keep the snow or weather out. Some lodges were very large and could hold as many as 40 or 50 people. There were lean-tos built for summer lodging when traveling and were easily erected, and were covered with tule mats and were stored in trees for winter use later. They carried tule mats along in the summer and used poles at destinations. Floors were covered with fir boughs, grass, and tule mats. Some of the summer lodges were of rectangular roof supported by poles, the sides being left open. 4 poles were planted in the ground, the pair in the front about 6 feet high and rear somewhat shorter, so that the roof would slope front to back. Fir boughs and poles over that to support the mats, the 2 or 3 layers of tule mats on the roof. When a larger piece was needed, 2 more poles were placed at the end, making it longer, and any trees growing nearby would be used except for pine, as the odor was objectionable unless well dried. The other summer structure was a lean-to with 4 upright poles set in the ground in a row, and poles lashed to the top of them, the ends on the ground. Fir boughs were laid across these sloping rafters. When traveling, the tule mats were carried along. Poles were obtained at the campsite. The outside was a few layers of tule mats, and the floor was covered with grass. Being summer, the fires were outside of the lodge. Now here, let's take a walk into the pit house. This is a cool place to come in a hot summer day and a warmer place to come in a cold winter day. If you have a chance, come visit the Methow Valley Interpretive Center on the Twisp Works campus. Twisp, the site of settlements, the Methow descendants, an important fishing area as well. Come feel the power of this place, the ancient stories from the rocks to the people, past, present, and future.